inviting me today. My name is Imme and I'm a visiting student from the Netherlands. And today I'm going to present part of my research project in first language acquisition. And it's titled Who's Next? Third Native Language and English Toddlers. And during the talk I will kind of explain how to do first language acquisition research by kind of case study, which is my own study. But before I start, I would like to draw your attention to a few observations in which cases do we use language. So we use language when we're having a meeting. We use language when we're having a social chat. We use language when we're having a conference like today. We use language when we're having a fight. We use language when we try to solve problems. And we use language on the telephone when we're in a chat with someone else. So in all these kind of conditions, we're having a conversation between two or more people. So that leads me to a kind of first observation. Language is the building block of our conversations. And what does that mean for first language acquisition research? That means that children learn language in the context of conversations. But how do children learn to understand these conversations and also finally to participate in conversations? That's the goal of today. I would like to show you how we can investigate how children start to understand these conversations. Then, one really important thing of participating and understanding a conversation is a turn-taking system. Now what does this mean? This is kind of a system in which you switch between two speaker turns. So you have speaker A and speaker B, and they're kind of having a conversation. Speaker A says something, and speaker B replies. In between, there is a small gap of approximately 200 milliseconds. This gap is really short if you kind of realize that it takes you 600 to 1200 milliseconds to really plan your response. So that means this whole turn-taking system that already, while speaker A is still talking, you already kind of predict when he or she is finished talking. So you use certain cues to predict an upcoming turn end. And in my study, I've focused on these cues. So we have two different linguistic cues that you can use, namely syntactic cues. So whether a sentence is complete or incomplete. If I have a complete sentence like, do you like bananas? It's kind of obvious that there will be a speaker change. Whereas when my sentence is incomplete, like, you were making very, you don't expect a speaker change because you're expecting to finish my sentence. On the other hand, we have intonation, so that's kind of the melody that you use on your speech, and this can be complete or incomplete as well, or if we phrase it different, it can be a question intonation or a continuation intonation. And you can kind of present intonation as a pitch contour, so this is these lines. And what is then the difference between a question intonation and a continuation intonation? That is, for the question, you have a beautiful final rise, like, are there any questions? Whereas when you have a continuation contour, this final rise is absent, so it's something like, are there any questions I would like to answer? So those are two linguistic cues. And what is known about these cues in adult research? We know that adults mainly use the syntactic cues to predict an upcoming turn, and so we really kind of control whether the sentence is complete or not, and we use intonation more as a kind of supporting and facilitation role. So intonation is not the most important cue, that is syntax. And that makes me wonder, how do children understand conversations? So my research question is, how do English toddlers weight syntactic and intonational cues to predict an upcoming turn end? And I predict that compared to adults, children will rely more on intonation because of their intonational input and because of their sensitivity to intonation. Those children are born, they are very sensitive to intonation, and they can already distinguish between the intonation of their own language compared to foreign languages. And also when mothers talk to their babies, they talk really exaggerated intonation. Whereas the syntactic input is usually simplified and use shorter sentences. Now, how I'm going to investigate this? Child language acquisition research is very challenging because children usually don't want to talk, or They just do not what you want them to do, and we don't know how much they understand. They have their own will, they don't sit still, and they have a very short attention span. All these things make child research really difficult. But we have some kind of solutions. We need a short experiment, we need an exciting experiment, we need a simple experiment, and we need a different way to analyze, and we have to be creative. And what was my solution? My solution is that I use videos of two puppets in conversation, and I will analyze the eye movements of the children while they are watching the videos of these two puppets. So for example, I'm going to look when this puppet is talking, and whether there's applause, whether the children anticipate that the other puppet is going to respond, or whether they keep looking to the current puppet. So that is a little bit of what we're going to do. And I do have an example. This is a small video, and this is of an adult participant, and unfortunately it's in Dutch, because my English materials... Oh, I'm sorry. This was... Sorry, I made a mistake here. First, the video will come later. Just a little moment. First, my participants, I will test both Dutch and English toddlers, and also both Dutch and English adults. The materials, there will be 8 different conversations, and in each conversation there are filler sentences and target sentences. And the target sentences are manipulated for cues that I've kind of discussed before. So we can have syntactic cues, can be complete or incomplete, and we have intonation contours, can be a question or a point. We have some examples. So if both cues indicate kind of transition, we have a complete sentence like "Would you like bananas?" and then the space in between the brackets is my measure point. So at that point I measure whether they anticipate that the other puppet is going to speak or that they keep looking. Now in this condition, both cues indicate transition, so I expect them that they will anticipate. And we do have a sound file.
Would he like bananas?
So that really sounds as a question. Then we have another condition in which the syntax is complete. So the syntax says, well, it can be a transition, but the intonation is a hold. Another example.
Do they prefer carrots?
And then we're going to look what they do at the moment of the brackets. And here, if they indeed rely more on intonation, I expect them to keep looking at the current puppet, because the intonation says, we're not finished yet. Then we have the third condition. So there the syntax is incomplete at the point, at the measure point, so there. But the intonation is already complete, so that's a question.
Maybe he's feeling really hungry for some breakfast.
And here at the point, at the measure point, I do expect them to anticipate a speaker change. Although the sentence isn't finished yet, but the intonation says it's a question, so they will look to the other puppet. And then we have the fourth condition, in which the sentence is incomplete, but also the intonation is incomplete. That sounds...
I've seen carrots behind the swings.
And at that point, I expect them to keep looking, because both cues say I'm incomplete. So here's the example. This is an adult participant looking, and you will actually see the eye movements as a clue.
Heel veel zin om te zwemmen. Het is inderdaad een mooie dag om te zwemmen. En ik heb een nieuw badpak. Het badpak is nog niet gebruikt. Wauw, dan kan je hem zo meteen proberen.
So that gives a little bit of an idea of how, in the end, it will look like and how the eye movements go. And you saw that sometimes there were errors, probably because the cues were mismatching participants' cues. Then, I do have some preliminary adult data from Dutch adults, so it's really interesting to see what they do in the different conditions. So I compare the syntactic complete conditions with the syntactic incomplete conditions. And the gray block, that is the moment of the pause. So that's the 500 milliseconds of silence in which we look whether they anticipate a speaker change or not. And so here are the sentences complete, and red one is with a question intonation, and the orange one is with an incomplete intonation. And here the sentences are incomplete at the point of measure. And here, again, the red one is with a question intonation, and the orange one is with a continuation intonation. And on the y-axis you see whether they anticipate a speaker change or not. That's very small. But the interesting thing is that in the syntactic complete condition, you see that they indeed anticipate a speaker change. So they realize, oh, the sentence is complete, and during the pause they're going to look to the other person. And it's really funny to see that they do use some intonation as well, because when the intonation is complete, they have a faster anticipation than when the intonation is incomplete. So here you see really nice the syntactic effect of the intonation. And then in the syntactic incomplete condition, you see that they keep looking at the current puppet. So that means adults realize, the sentence isn't complete yet, so there won't be a speaker change. And here intonation doesn't have a really kind of important role. So it's only when the syntactic cue is complete that intonation plays a role, and not when the syntax is incomplete. Unfortunately, I'm still collecting my Dutch data as well, so I don't have any results in the Delft data. And the English materials I'm still developing, and I hope to test the first children in April, but I'm really curious what children are going to do. And that leads us to the conclusion. So first language acquisition research is really challenging, creative, and not always straightforward. And children learn language in conversation, but what linguistic cues do they use to understand these conversations? Is it syntax or is it intonation? And we found a kind of new method to answer this question by showing them videos of puppets in conversation. So, that's